The following is brought to you by Bleacher Report. If you guys want to check out my live post-game reaction show, make sure to have the Bleacher Report app downloaded and ready to fire up right after the game. You'll find me in the Chargers section. Bolt up.
Go to Bull Fam. It's the director coming off a tough loss. The Chargers drop one 19-17 versus the Kansas City Chiefs in a game that was very much so winnable, at times feeling like there was no hope. But at the end there, the Chargers really picked things up, almost found a way to win against Kansas City. But that being the big kicker there, isn't it? That word, almost. That's going to be a word that haunts the Chargers a lot this season. I would say a lot more in terms of their rivalry between them and the Chiefs the last 10 or so years in the Chiefs' dominance in their run. It's going to be a tough one for Chargers fans to stomach. I'm going to tell you that right now. This one really felt like it was one that was maybe so not brought to its full potential due to the lack of effort in the first half, the lack of success in the first half for the Chargers. It was a particularly lackluster first half, and you got to think that one field goal, one extra first down or extra, couple of effort, plays in terms of conversions really changes this outcome for the Chargers this week. But I'm going to tell you this, guys, right now, and I'm going to make some people upset. I'm going to make sure some people are on the director train for next week. I'm going to say it anyway. I am not heartbroken over this loss. Sure, I'm upset that we lost to the Chiefs. Never happy when you lose to a division rival, especially one where you are just on the brink of taking down the reigning Super Bowl champion, one that has had another, season of craziness, a lot of narratives behind the refereeing and the play and all that kind of stuff. It sucks and it's hard to stomach. But me personally, man, I've kind of felt this way the entire season, that the Chargers are going to need some time to figure out the Jim Harbaugh way. The first week that was early in the season, was it week 4 or 5? I really did feel like that's going to be a game that the Chargers have no shot at winning. They're going to get rolled. The Chiefs are the Chiefs. They're it's a result that I think a lot of us had been predicting. A pretty handed, win for Kansas City and a humbling moment for Chargers fans. But that's not what happened. What happened was the Chargers, despite missing key components to their team, be it the 2 starting tackles, be it a Justin Herbert who was practically on one leg, Derwin James being suspended that game, they found a way to make it competitive and interesting, and ultimately only lost that game 17-10. That one did hurt. I was hoping to win that game despite all of the narratives against us. But you know what? We kept it close. We showed that we were a threat and that this team was moving in the right direction. Now, if you watch my content on YouTube, you would have heard a pretty similar narrative going into this game. The Chargers, now with some time, understanding, getting their footing a bit in the Jim Harbaugh system, finding confidence and momentum, a very important aspect to football, should keep this game pretty interesting. Yes, I did still predict a loss for the Chargers. I think my score prediction ranging around 16-13 Kansas City did still spell a picture and paint a picture of success for the Chargers in some way, and that's moving in the right direction as a franchise. The Chargers got away, or I should say the Chiefs got away with a 1-score win in our last matchup early in the season. Now, our second time around, the Chiefs also get away narrowly, this time by only 2 points versus a Chargers team that was also without some key components on the roster, being Ladd McConkey, their best pass catcher, not active for this game due to a shoulder injury. J.K. Dobbins, their best running back of the season, sidelined. He's on IR, not able to participate in this rivalry game. Despite that, the Chargers found a way to make this game interesting and remain competitive. And although my heart sunk as that last first down was converted by Patrick Mahomes, my heart sunk as I realized it's another L in the column for the Chargers versus the Chiefs. It's another season of the Kansas City Chiefs reigning atop the AFC West. Despite all of that, I'm stepping back as a Chargers fan and saying, dude, we may have lost the battle, but the war is far from over. We may have a shot at taking the Kansas City Chiefs down in a game that really, really matters next month. And that is, my friends, the postseason. And once again, not to say that we're some prophet or fortune teller, but this is something that I had obviously, it's not too far of a stretch to say, hey, the Chargers are probably going to lose both their games to the Kansas City Chiefs. But you know what? We made it interesting. And one thing that I kept saying over and over and over again is I feel like the Chargers need time to figure out the Jim Harbaugh system and way. We're probably going to lose the first game. We're probably going to lose the second game. Regular season probably goes to the Chiefs. But you know where it really gets interesting? I think the Chargers are a legitimate threat versus Kansas City in the postseason. I want a shot. I want another shot at Kansas City, and I want to take them down where it really, really counts. Because, mind you, we lost our first matchup by 1 touchdown. This last game, we won it, or we lost it by 2 points. 1 field goal separating us from a win and loss here. So, yes, Chargers fans everywhere, especially even in my chat, which is, kind of known for being optimistic, happy-go-lucky Chargers fans. People pissed, understandably. Sunday Night Football, division rival. It's the Chiefs. They're doing their thing again. It's frustrating. I get it. But trying to be as honest and transparent with you guys as possible, I'm going to tell you that this doesn't bother me as much as other Chiefs losses in the past. This doesn't bother me as bad as other losses for the Chargers in the past. Because if anything, this spells to me that the Chargers went into Arrowhead versus the reigning Super Bowl champs and were separated by 2 points, whether or not they win or lose, with so many pieces and elements of their squad missing once again. Now, what happens between now and the postseason? Well, the Chargers aren't a shoe-in, although I think they are, and I believe the Chargers will make the postseason. If you have to think about it that way to make yourself feel better, yeah, the Chargers aren't in the postseason yet, but I'm very confident that they will be. More is going to happen between then and there, though. The Chargers are going to continue to understand the Jim Harbaugh system. Justin Herbert is going to continue to find momentum, because let's be honest, his momentum wasn't sky high in this game. His momentum has been kind of middle of the pack. Not a great game versus Atlanta. Not a great game versus the Ravens. Maybe he does find a stride, but most importantly, the Chargers may have key elements back on their team come the postseason. J.K. Dobbins, there's a chance that he comes back from IR to carry the rock for the Chargers, who, let's be honest, the offense hasn't looked the same since J.K. Dobbins exited with injury versus the Ravens. You get him back versus the Chiefs in our next matchup, I say we got a good shot. Ladd McConkey, our basically only weapon versus man coverage, getting him back would be huge. And he wasn't a breakout player our first time we faced off against the Chiefs this season. Justin Herbert was playing on one leg. Ladd McConkey had still, yet to break out. Having him back for a postseason matchup would be awesome. So no, I'm not heartbroken over the loss. I am mad over it. I am sad that we weren't able to overcome 2 points. I'm frustrated in the lack of success in the first half, but I'm anything but defeated. As a Chargers fan, realistically, in my perspective, this team has moved tremendously in the right direction this season. They went from a 5-win season last year to an 8-win minimum season this year, a pretty likely playoff team this season, and one that is a legitimate threat to the Kansas City Chiefs, as we've now seen twice. So yeah, Chiefs, you can beat me in the regular season once. You can beat me in the regular season twice. But I want a shot at you in the postseason where it really, really matters, because I do believe that we are up to the challenge of dethroning the Kansas City Chiefs here this season and hopefully into the future, because as of right now, guys, with Jim Harbaugh and the success that he's seen and the progression that he's made with this team over 1 year, you have to believe that the AFC West is about to open up once again to the Chargers as a legitimate threat versus KC. Now, We do have a road ahead of us. Chargers next week facing off against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Anything but a gimme. But it's one that I think the Chargers should be able to handle, especially if we get Ladd McConkey back. That team has seen some struggles on defense. The Chargers have Justin Herbert. We're coming off of a very tough loss. I feel like there's all the opportunity in the world for this team to turn it around and go 9-5 next week. Then you got the big division game, the Chargers versus the Denver Broncos. That's the one I'm probably the most worried about right now because that division matchup is going to have a lot on the line. By that point, the Chargers and Broncos could be in similar records. We could be playing, for whoever gets, the head chair at the table in terms of the AFC wild card, right? There's going to be a lot in the line that game. Do I believe the Chargers can win that game? Oh, yeah, absolutely. We've done it once already. Sure, the Broncos, like the Chargers, have been getting better over the season. Sean Payton has really turned them into a contender. So have the Chargers. It's going to be a neck-and-neck battle, but I do think we are capable of winning that game. The following two games, New England Patriots, Chargers have a really good shot at winning that game, I think more than likely. And then you got the Raiders to close the season, who really are in shambles. Again, division matchup. Never overestimate or underestimate any opponent, but it feels like the Chargers could take them on too. So at very minimum, it feels like this is at least, a 10-6 team or 10-7 team that does have a very realistic chance at the postseason. I'm about it. And if this game was a determining game in which the Chargers are in the postseason or out of the postseason, yeah, I'd probably be more devastated. But as of right now, we're still in it, and we still have another shot at revenge versus the Chiefs. Yeah, I don't know. Feels like a very reasonable reaction, at least by me and some of my viewers during the game and during what would have been in any other occasion, a heartbreak loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. But I'm not as mad about this one as I have been about losses in the past. And I think it's because there's still kind of a long road ahead of us. For the first time in a long time, the Chargers aren't fighting for our lives to make the postseason. It feels like as long as we stay the course, that we have another shot at Kansas City and other teams in the postseason this year. And that's very different. And it's something I think Chargers fans are going to need to take some time to understand for ourselves and get used to and acclimate to. The Jim Harbaugh way of football is a lot different than what we've experienced the past 10-plus years. Since the Martin Schottenheimer days, I don't think we've ever seen a coach with this much experience, a track record, and honestly, optimism, making it this point of the season where we can actually feel like, hey, the postseason's right in front of us. Let's just take it and get our shot at KC one more time. It's new. It's different. It's going to take a while for some people to accept. Some people may never accept the idea of a Jim Harbaugh way of playing football, but I'm really coming around to it, man, and I feel pretty good about it. Now, this game in particular, we got to actually talk about this game and what happened inside of it and why the Chargers ended up losing here at the last second. For one, there's a couple of key elements to this that I think you have to really point at in terms of what helped the Chiefs fight their way back to another win, another late last-second win at the end. For one, the first half, very, very lackluster for the Bolts. That's something that the Chargers are going to have to figure out in terms of their identity, in terms of, who they are over time, right? We need to play a full football game. The first half this week blew. It was bad. And that's actually something that you kind of see flipped for a majority of the season for the Chargers this season. It's the second half that normally sees a lot of lackluster. Hey, we got a lead or whatever. We're not scoring in the second half. Scoring in general has been pretty difficult for this offense. There's a lot of things that we got to work on. Definitely a lot of things we got to work on. And this week, it did cost the Chargers. The inability to play a full football game shot ourselves in the foot before it even started. Again, you have to think that a Cam Dicker field goal, which at one point we were in, it was like a 55-yarder, and instead we decide to punt. That could have been the difference between a win and loss this week. One drive that resulted in points, one, score off of a defensive effort could have changed everything, which is the one thing I do have to say about the Chargers' first half of football. The defense rocked, man. If anything, this game is not on the defense. This game has a lot of things that, we're holding them back. The offense was super lackluster, but the defense, I think we're doing awesome. And once again, holding their opponent to 20 points or less, once again being the Kansas City Chiefs, is a huge accomplishment. And the defense, I think, gave us as many opportunities as you could ask for to go win this game for the offense. Unfortunately, the offense just couldn't get it together until the second half. The other thing that I think is kind of, flying under the radar a little bit, one that I don't know how much emphasis there was in terms of, keeping it in front of you and keeping it in mind as we rounded the corner at the end of this game in the fourth quarter. Clock management felt a little weird in this game because you have to imagine as a Chargers fan, as a fan of football, that if you leave enough time for Patrick Mahomes and company to come back in the fourth quarter, that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to come back. They're going to win this game. And at one point, the Chargers got the ball back with 13 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And that drive ended up taking, I think, somewhere in the realm of 7 or 8 minutes, which by all means, in any other situations, is probably fine. That's probably what you want to go for, but maybe not versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Maybe there was a designed effort to milk as much clock as possible, try and grab the lead with a field goal late, and then depend on your defense. I don't know if that's what I do with 13 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And that's just an observation by me, a fan. Right? I think by design, I try and score quickly and give myself a little bit of insurance just in case the Kansas City Chiefs are as hard to stop as their reputation tells us. And that's exactly what happened in the fourth quarter. So, yeah, I don't know. That's just the way it is. Chargers fans, we've been through worse. We've seen worse. This was a very narrow loss. The season is far from over. Chargers have a lot of optimism in terms of what we're looking at in terms of getting into the postseason, maybe getting another shot at finding a second chance or even now a third chance at taking down the Chiefs in the postseason in a game where it really matters, and really embracing the change that Jim Harbaugh is trying to instill in this culture. It's different. It's going to be, for a lot of people, very unacceptable. Chiefs fans are going to push back at every angle they can, which is their job, right? We can't say otherwise. We can't tell them not to because there are opposing division rival fans on the other side. But I hope that there's some out there that realize, hey, this isn't a cakewalk anymore. The Chiefs are kind of on the downward trajectory in some way. The win column wouldn't say that, but the way that win column came to be probably does reflect that. And then there's this guy, Jim Harbaugh, maybe even Sean Payton in the AFC West, that you got to start paying attention to because it's going to become a lot more difficult to stay atop the AFC West from now on. They've had a really good run. Much respect and big respect to Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce. This has been a rivalry that's been more or less touchable for the past several seasons. Chargers fans would tell you it's been one of the most annoying that we've ever had to deal with. And that's because they're a legit and good football team. They're very, very consistent. They're very successful, and they're very difficult to bring down, even in a season where maybe their stats don't reflect 12-1. Very, very good football team in KC. Despite that, the Chargers narrowly lose this one by 2 points, and the previous matchup just by 1 touchdown. And that'll tell you that, hey, they're a good football team, but so are we. And you give us a shot, you give us a chance at a rematch in an environment where it really does count in the postseason. I want that opportunity because I do believe that we are up to par with the Kansas City Chiefs, and we're only going to get better with every year under the Jim Harbaugh regime, coaching, and way of playing football. The lifestyle, the culture is here, and I'm very, very excited to see what the future holds. All right, guys, and just remember, the success we saw in the draft this year, all around, right? Outside of 1, maybe 2 picks, this has been one of the most impressive drafts I've ever seen. The offseason was incredible in terms of free agency. Joe Ortiz has been cooking. Imagine what a year 2 and a year 3 and a year 4 is going to do in moving the needle for the Chargers and usurping and dethroning the Kansas City Chiefs. Well, congratulations to the Chiefs. Handshakes all around, good sportsmanship, yada, yada, yada. Y'all got us again. But watch out. We're coming. Postseason, I want another crack at it. Let's get it, baby. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director. If you like what you saw here, hit us up with a like and sub, or I should say a follow here on Bleacher Report on your way out. And please, before we do exit out of here, I want to give you guys the opportunity to share with me a player or a moment in the game that stood out to you as a Chargers fan? This is both here on Bleacher Report and on the rebroadcast on YouTube. Just please comment a number of a player or a name of a player that really stood out to you this week and gave us a good shot at staying in on this one. Me personally, honestly, it's kind of crazy to think, but Stone Smart, the third string tight end, really brought it this week, which tells you that the Chargers can take anybody and turn him into a real big football somebody. So thank you, Stone Smart, and the effort of this Chargers team for making it close and giving us an opportunity to have another crack at the Chiefs in the postseason. We'll catch you guys next time. As always, bolt up and stay frosty.